Putin states readiness to compromise over Ukraine. Republican spending bill fails in U.S. House of Representatives. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching World Today. The violence in the Gaza Strip continues to rock the coastal territory more than 14 months into the Israel-Hamas war, even as international mediators work to negotiate a ceasefire. In the latest series of strikes, at least 30 Palestinians were killed. According to Civil Defense Agency spokesman Mahmoud Basal, at least 13 people, including women and children, were killed when strikes hit two schools in eastern Gaza City. He explained that Israel targeted the Shaband al-Rayas school and al-Karama school in the Al-Daraj neighborhood of eastern Gaza City. He said at least 30 people were also injured, adding that hundreds of Palestinians displaced by the war were in the two schools when the strikes occurred. Basal noted that Israel continues its policy of targeting displaced people and shelters housing them. In a separate strike, another 13 people were killed when an Israeli warplane targeted a group of Palestinians filling water in al-Shati refugee camp in western Gaza City. 4 additional fatalities were reported in another strike on a house, also in Al-Daraj neighborhood in eastern Gaza City. Amid the ongoing violence, the United States, Egypt and Qatar are engaged in renewed negotiations to halt the war. Israel faced fresh accusations of acts of genocide and exhibiting signs of ethnic cleansing in its military offensive in Gaza. They are the latest in a series of accusations leveled against Israel during its 14-month war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. In a report focused on water, New York-based Human Rights Watch detailed what it called deliberate efforts by Israeli authorities of a systemic nature to deprive Gazans of water, which had likely caused thousands of deaths and will likely continue to cause fatalities. In a separate report, Doctors Without Borders accused Israel of causing widespread devastation in Gaza and noted signs of ethnic cleansing in the north of the Palestinian territory. Its Secretary General Christopher Lockyer said signs of ethnic cleansing and the ongoing devastation, including mass killings, severe physical and mental health injuries, forced displacement, and impossible conditions of life for Palestinians under siege and bombardment are undeniable. The report concluded that Israel intentionally inflicted on the Palestinian population conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. It said this amounted to the war crime of extermination and acts of genocide. The United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly approved a resolution asking the International Court of Justice (ICJ) to assess Israel's obligations to assist Palestinians amid accusations the Israeli government systematically hinders Gaza aid. The resolution seeking the advisory opinion from the UN's top court was brought by Norway and co-sponsored by Egypt, Jordan, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, among others. It won backing from 137 countries, while 12 objected and 22 abstained. The resolution expressed grave concern about the dire humanitarian situation in the occupied Palestinian territory and calls on Israel to uphold and comply with its obligations not to impede the Palestinian people from exercising their rights to self-determination. The ICJ will be asked to consider the obligations of Israel to ensure and facilitate the unhindered provision of urgently needed supplies essential to the survival of the Palestinian civilian population. Norway's Deputy Foreign Ministry Andreas Kravik said it is just a catastrophe that the international community has not been able to respond adequately to the humanitarian crisis. He stated that Israel has not been collaborating with the United Nations as well as other non-governmental organizations. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that he is ready to compromise over Ukraine in possible talks with United States President-elect Donald Trump on ending the war and has no condition for starting talks with the Ukrainian authorities.
Trump has vowed to swiftly end the conflict, but has not yet given any details on how he might achieve that agenda. Putin, fielding questions on state TV during his annual question and answer session with Russians, said that he is ready to meet Trump, whom he had not spoken to for years. Asked what he might be able to offer Trump, Putin dismissed an assertion that Russia is in a weaker position, saying that the country has become much stronger since he ordered troops into Ukraine in 2022.
Я полагаю, что Россия стала гораздо сильнее за предыдущие 2-3 года. Почему? Потому что мы становимся по-настоящему суверенной страной. Мы уже мало от кого зависим.
Putin also said that Russia has no conditions to start talks with Ukraine and is ready to negotiate with anyone, including President Volodymyr Zelensky. However, he said any deal could only be signed with Ukraine's legitimate authorities, which for now the Kremlin considers to be only the Ukrainian parliament. Putin also dismissed the idea of agreeing to a temporary truce with Kiev, saying only a long-lasting peace deal with Ukraine would suffice.
In a related development, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged European countries to provide guarantees to protect Ukraine after the war with Russia ends, but said these would not be enough without support from the United States under Donald Trump.
While the fighting in Ukraine goes on with no end in sight, Western and Ukrainian officials have begun discussing post-war scenarios, prompted in part by President-elect Trump's pledge to bring the conflict to a swift conclusion. Addressing a summit of European Union leaders, Zelensky welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron's proposal to deploy troops to Ukraine following an eventual ceasefire. He said it was crucial for Europe to make a significant contribution to security guarantees. Zelensky also noted that Ukraine would ultimately need more protection through membership of the NATO alliance. In the meantime, he said Ukraine needs to have separate guarantees from European nations and the United States.
Можемо жити з замороженим конфліктом. Коли йдеться мова про сісфаєр, у будь-якому конфлікті, у будь-якій війні, люди знають, що буде після. Чим все закінчиться. Треба знати, що завтра для того, щоб сьогодні робити сісфаєр. А в іншому випадку ви просто робите заморожений конфлікт і все. І тому Україні потрібні гарантії безпеки. Сильна позиція України і гарантії безпеки.
The European Union has announced a pledge of an additional 30 billion euros in financial support for Ukraine set for 2025. Now, this statement comes after a meeting in Brussels involving EU leaders and EU Council President Antonio Costa.
We will implement the 15 sanctions package against Russia we approved this week. This package closes loopholes and limits circumvention and especially targets the so-called shadow fleet. Second, we have already delivered about 130 billion euros of financial support, and we will deliver an additional 30 billion euro in 2025.
The announcement stresses the EU's commitment to supporting Ukraine amid its ongoing challenges. This financial package is expected to assist in stabilizing Ukraine's economy while fostering infrastructure development and social projects. EU Council President Antonio Costa, highlighting the decision, emphasized the strategic importance of maintaining Ukraine's economic stability and growth trajectory during uncertain times.
A Republican spending bill backed by President-elect Donald Trump failed in the U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday, leaving Congress with no clear plan to avert a fast-approaching government shutdown that could disrupt Christmas travel. By a vote of 174 to 235, the House rejected the spending package, which was hastily assembled by Republican leaders after Trump and billionaire Elon Musk scuttled a prior bipartisan deal. The bill would have extended government funding into March, when Trump will be in the White House, and Republicans will control both chambers of Congress and provide $100 billion in disaster relief and suspended the debt. Republicans dropped other elements that had been included in the original package, such as pay raise for lawmakers and new rules for pharmacy benefit managers. At Trump's urging, the new version also would have suspended limits on the national debt for 2 years, a maneuver that would make it easier to pass the dramatic tax cuts he has promised and set the stage for the federal government's $36 trillion in debt to continue to climb. Ahead of the vote, Democrats and Republicans warned that the other party would be at fault if Congress allowed the government to shut down. Australia pledges to boost the Solomon Islands police force, and that and more coming up next. A flag-raising ceremony was held in Macau on Friday morning to mark the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the Special Administrative Region, SAR. Chinese President Xi Jinping will preside over a day of celebrations in Macau and inaugurate the city's new leader on Friday to mark 25 years since the former colony was returned to China.
The national anthem was played at the ceremony as the national flag and the Macau regional flag were raised. Incoming Macau Chief Executive Sam Ho Fai and Director of Beijing's Liaison Office in Macau, Zhang Xin-kong, attended the flag raising along with the officials of the SAR's next administration. Macau is regarded by China as a shining example of its one country, two systems model, and Xi praised the city as a pearl in the nation's palm at the start of his 3-day visit. When Macau reverted to Chinese rule on 20th December 1999, Beijing promised that the city's capitalist system and way of life shall remain unchanged for 50 years. Its GDP has soared from 6.4 billion in 1999 to more than 47 billion last year, and its population is the richest in China on per capita basis.
Australia said on Friday it has agreed to help boost the Solomon Islands police force with a finance and training package for the Pacific nation, which has fostered close ties with China. According to Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, the deal includes 190 million Australian dollars in financing over 4 years, training and infrastructure, including a police training centre in the Solomons capital, Honiara.
And my government is proud to make a significant investment in the police force of the Solomon Islands to ensure that they can continue to take primary responsibility for security in the Solomons.
Albanese also said he sealed the agreement in discussions with Solomon Islands Prime Minister Jeremiah Manele. Manele's predecessor switched diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing in 2019. 3 years later, the archipelago signed a secretive security deal with Beijing that raised alarm in Western capitals over China's expanding influence in the Pacific. Beijing's move sparked a flurry of diplomatic activity by the United States, Australia, and other allies to cement closer relations with strategically placed South Pacific nations.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan met with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on the sidelines of a D8 summit on Thursday. The Turkish presidency said Erdogan discussed the developments in Syria as well as bilateral relations with all three countries' leaders.
He also discussed with the Sisi increasing cooperation between Turkey and Egypt to help Gaza. The Turkish Prime Minister reiterated the need for increased pressure on Israel by the use of all means so that their atrocities towards Palestinians are stopped immediately. Egypt is hosting the summit of the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation, which also includes Malaysia, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Nigeria, Turkey and Pakistan. With Egypt and Iran's leader also in attendance, the event underscores the importance of dialogue and collaboration in addressing shared regional concerns. The D8 was established in 1997 to improve cooperation between countries stretching from Southeast Asia to Africa.
The suspect in the killing of UnitedHealth Group executive Brian Thompson is being charged with federal murder and stalking crimes alongside state murder and terrorism charges previously announced by New York prosecutors. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan are charging Luigi Mangione, 26, with the federal crime of murder using a firearm, 2 charges of stalking, and a charge of using an illegal gun silencer. The criminal complaint accused Mangione of spending months planning an attack driven by his contempt for the health insurance industry and wealthy corporate executives. Mangione was transferred into the custody of New York City Police earlier on Thursday after he waived his right to extradition proceedings at a court hearing in Pennsylvania, the state where he was arrested following a 5-day manhunt. Mangione was arrested in Altoona on 9th December, 5 days after Thompson was fatally shot outside a Manhattan hotel before a company conference in what law enforcement officials have called a premeditated assassination. A riot in a prison in the Mexican state of Tabasco left at least 2 people dead. Family members of inmates at a prison in the southern Mexican city of Villahermosa clashed with riot police on Thursday as they attempted to break into a prison where their relatives were being held.
The uprising took place around 5 a.m. local time when prison authorities entered the facility to transfer 2 inmates identified as leaders and violence instigators. The riot lasted for 4 hours, during which one of the inmates was captured, while the second barricaded himself with around 20 other prisoners and exchanged gunfire with the police. All were eventually detained, though no information about fatalities was provided. National Guard officers secured the perimeter of the prison, where relatives of the inmates protested and demanded information about their relatives. According to official statistics, between January and October this year, there were 715 murders in Tabasco compared to 253 recorded in 2023.
A stampede at a school fun fair in the southwestern Nigerian city of Ibadan has killed at least 35 children and seriously injured 6 others. The injured children are receiving medical attention following the incident, which took place in Nigeria's 3rd largest city.
Police spokesperson Edwell Osifiso said 8 people have been arrested for their various involvements in the incident. Among those detained were the main sponsors of the event at the Bosu Run Islamic High School, which was organized by the Wings Foundation and Agi Dikbo FM radio. Osifiso added that the homicide section of the State Criminal Investigation Department has opened a probe on the incident. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu urged the Oyo state government to take every necessary measure to prevent such tragedy from reoccurring. He added among the essential actions are comprehensive review of all public events safety measures, strict enforcement of safety regulations, and regular safety audits of event venues. Nigeria has seen several deadly stampedes in recent months. In March, 2 students died and 23 others were injured after being crushed as thousands gathered for free bags of rice handed out by local authorities at Nasarawa State University in central Nigeria.
Amazon workers at 7 United States facilities have walked off the job early during the holiday shopping rush as workers protest what they say is the retailing giant's unfair treatment of its employees.
Warehouse workers in cities including New York, Atlanta and San Francisco were taking part in what Teamsters union officials called the largest ever strike against Amazon. As the world's second largest private employer after Walmart, Amazon has long been target for unions that say the company's emphasis on ever faster speed and efficiency can lead to injuries. Workers said they want Amazon to come to the bargaining table and recognize the pressure to meet the demands that affect their health. However, the strikers represent a small number of the 800,000 plus people employed by Amazon at more than 600 US fulfillment centers, delivery stations, and same-day facilities. Amazon said it does not expect any effect on operations during one of the busiest times of the year.
Meteorologists issued a heatwave warning for Santiago on Thursday and a lack of rainfall as temperatures soared this week across the Chilean capital's metropolitan region.
Residents flocked to water parks and free water distribution points to cope with the intense heat as local leaders emphasized the need for hydration and sun protection. The government has also taken action with awareness campaigns and by distributing information on managing heat stroke. A meteorologist, Andres Moncada, said in recent years, Santiago has seen record after record of maximum temperatures being set. He added they align with climate change models and warned of conditions of favorable for wildfires. The cities of Santiago recorded its highest temperature this year, 36.7 degrees Celsius, the third highest temperature the city has seen in 111 years.
Still to come in sports, Spurs survives Manchester United comeback to enter League Cup semi-final. Kicking off our sports segment this afternoon, Tottenham survived two calamitous errors from stand-in goalkeeper Fraser Forster on Thursday to beat Manchester United 4-3 and set up a League Cup semi-final against Liverpool, staying on track for the first trophy since 2008.
The home side were cruising at 3-0 in the 54th minute of a captivating tie in London after two goals from Dominic Solanke and one from Dejan Kulusevski. But Forster's mistakes allowed substitutes Joao Zirkzee and Amad Diallo to pull the score back to 3-2 with 20 minutes to go. It was one-way traffic after that, with United totally on top, but Spurs scored a fourth as Son Heung-min found a net from a corner and they held on despite a late Johnny Evans goal. Tottenham will face Premier League leaders Liverpool in the two-legged semi-finals, with Arsenal taking on Newcastle. Spurs boss Ange Postecoglou said his injury-hit team inflicted pain on themselves but gave a passionate defense of his gung-ho approach. Tottenham, 10th in the Premier League, who have not won silverware for 16 years when they lifted the League Cup under Juande Ramos.
6 men, including the brother of France international Paul Pogba, were sentenced to prison terms of between 3 and 8 years on Thursday after being convicted of extortion attempts targeting the footballer. In 2022, Paul Pogba said he was the subject of extortion attempts and threats from an organized gang, with his brother Matthias placed under formal investigation.
Paul Pogba, 31, told the Paris Prosecution Office that he had been the target of extortion by childhood friends in March 2022 and had paid 100,000 euros to that group. Matthias received a 3-year prison sentence, 2 of which are suspended after he was found guilty of organized extortion and attempted extortion and was also fined 20,000 euros. The others include Rochteng K, 8 years, Boubacar C, 4 years, 2 suspended, Mikhail K, 4 years, 3 suspended, Mamadou M, 5 years, 12 months suspended, and Adama C, 5 years.
British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe has increased his stake in Manchester United to nearly 29% after completing the cash injection he promised when purchasing a minority share of the Premier League club. On Christmas Eve last year, it was announced the British businessman, the chairman of chemicals company INEOS, had agreed a deal to buy 25% of the club, including investing a further $300 million into infrastructure on top of his $1.3 billion purchase price. That deal was ratified in February, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has confirmed the final $100 million was paid on Wednesday. The SAHIH filing published Thursday also confirmed that all of the Ratcliffe's shares in United are being transferred to INEOS from Trawlers Limited, which bought the stake from the US-based Glazer family, who remain the club's majority owners. With INEOS now in charge of United's football operations, Ratcliffe has made what he calls difficult and unpopular decision since becoming co-owner at a club he felt had become mediocre. Now in tennis, Alex Michelsen reached the semi-finals of the next Gen ATP Finals on Thursday, 12 months after enduring a miserable debut at the tournament where he lost all of his 3 matches.
The 41st ranked American defeated France's Luca Venachés 1-4, 1-2, 4-3, 4-3 to follow his opening win over compatriot Neshas Basafaridi. Venachés, ranked at 128, will face Basafaridi on Friday, when the winner joining Michelsen in the last 4 as the second qualifier from the red group. Basafaridi stayed alive in the tournament by ending the hopes of China's Shang Juncheng 3-4, 4-2, 4-2, 4-1. In the blue group, João Fonseca, the youngest player in the 8-man field at just 18, also made the semi-finals. The world number 145 from Brazil defeated Lena Tien of the United States 4-love, 4-love, 1-4, 4-2, improving to 2-love at the tournament, having stunned top seed and 20th rank Arthur Fils on his opener. Fonseca is the second youngest semi-finalist in event history, only 1 month younger than 2019 champion Yannick Sinner.
Now on to motorsports, Formula One. New Zealander Liam Lawson will race for Red Bull alongside world champion Max Verstappen next season after the decision to drop Sergio Perez, the Formula One team, confirmed on Thursday. Lawson, 22, who joined the Red Bull Junior program 5 years ago, steps in after just 11 Grand Prix over 2 seasons for the team.
The announcement comes a day after Perez said he had agreed a termination deal following a disappointing season by the Mexican. Lawson, who has earned 3 top 10 finishes so far in his fledgling F1 career, steps up from Red Bull's sister team RB. Lawson made his debut in F1 at the 2023 Dutch Grand Prix in place of the injured Daniel Ricciardo. He impressed after replacing Ricciardo on a permanent basis for the final 6 races of the 2024 season and was preferred a promotion over fellow RB driver Yuki Tsunoda of Japan. Lawson's 3-point scoring performances saw him finish 9th on each occasion in Singapore, United States and Brazil.
All right, that wraps up World Today this time around. In our top story, Putin states readiness to compromise over Ukraine. I'm Shuhaida Arifin, Malaysia Madani from River to the Sea. Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.